It is really great to be here with you today, Chairman Huizenga, and I want to welcome all of our witnesses to discuss Section 1502, the so-called conflict mineral provisions of Dodd-Frank. I've previously met with several of our witnesses, and I look forward to hearing your testimony here today. We have just had our second reporting period, and we've seen some improvements in the disclosure regimes of companies. Although still far from perfect, we anticipate that it will improve as time goes on. What we've also seen is a clear overestimation of the cost of compliance. Let me say at the onset that I support this provision because the human rights violations that occur and are being fueled by illicit trade in these materials is not something that we can or should ignore. 1502, I believe, is a measured response. Compliance will improve with time. Cost of compliance will decline, and the world will improve. It's easy to think about this as happening in a far-off place, but we know in a global world that the problems and instability of far-off places frequently find their way to our shores. For example, in the first reporting period in 2014, 68 companies looking at their supply chain realized that they were buying gold refined by North Korea. Now, I assume that even the most ardent opponents of 1502 do not support North Korea products in the supply chain of U.S. businesses. The U.S. was a leader in this area, and Europe and China are following. We will hear some good news and some bad news from our witnesses, but we will still see improvement from year to year, from year one to year two, and I believe 1502 can work. I am open to improving 1502, but now is not the time to discuss repeal of 1502, especially in this past weekend as we've witnessed rogue organizations in rogue states seeking revenue streams for terrorist activities. I'm going to ask the unanimous consent to place in the record the entire testimony of Representative McDermott of Washington. His statement, I'll read a little bit of it.
Without objection.
He says, quote, "It was almost 6 years ago to the day that I introduced the Conflict Minerals Trade Act, which was designed to help stop trade in conflict minerals that were sustaining the brutal civil war in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. It is important to remember why we enacted 1502 in the first place, to take a real step forward in monitoring and mining and trade minerals that contributes to violence in the DRC. What my colleagues and I originally envisioned was a vehicle by which the links between the mineral trade and conflict could be broken. Measured against that objective, 1502 has already achieved substantive progress. This was designed to be a thorough and comprehensive process, and I applaud those companies who from the start showed that compliance was possible by undertaking a complete and detailed account of their mineral supplies. I'm further encouraged by the conflict minerals disclosures that were released in June, which saw a marked improvement from the initial 2014 reports as more companies shed greater light on their supply chain. This law is changing the way supply chains are understood and ultimately how they function. And with that, I would yield back the balance of my time.
The gentlelady yields back.